Hi, I'm Phideaux Xavier, creator of Infernal and Doomsday Afternoon, and you're watching Notes Reviews.
Okay, so again, thank you so much. Huge thank you to. Now, do you actually pronounce your name Phideaux Xavier?
I do.
Okay, excellent.
Or Phideaux Xavier.
Phideaux Xavier. Okay. Learning French in Canada, we're used to names like Brodeur and Lemieux. So for the longest time, I was pronouncing your name Phideaux with a very French, like a thick French accent. And then I saw one of your posts on Facebook, and it's like, no, it's Phideaux. And I'm like, well, of course it's Phideaux. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you again.
When I made up the name at age 13, it was originally Phideaux. And then I went more into Phideaux, when I became a little more punk rock.
Right. Right, that makes total sense. So let's talk about the big project that you just finished, Infernal. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown of how it came to take so long to finally finish the product?
Sure. It's ironic that it took so long because I have so many other albums I've been working on at the same time that, I would work on one, then work on another, then work on this one. I did get to a point in the middle where I was absorbed by my day job and couldn't really devote as much time to the album. But to just bring you through the genesis of the album, I started rehearsing and writing music with my drummer partner, Bloody Rich Hutchins, in 2005, 2006. And we were working on a lot of music we hadn't written for a while. And so I was going back and forth, and we were working on a large selection of material. And it seemed that half of the material was kind of coagulating into these shorter, doomy, classic rock type songs, and the other half of the material was having a lot of themes that were recurring and ideas that I was exploring, and we were recapitulating in different ways on different instruments, different time signatures. And so what we often would do is we would go and record, block out 10 days, a week in a studio, and just tuck in and record all of the basic tracks of the stuff that we would be working on. And then over the course of months, I would overdub and finish it out. And when we did the recording of Great Leap and Doomsday Afternoon, we did that. We were in a studio for 10 days. We worked on all the music, in fact, a couple times, because we recorded Doomsday Afternoon twice, because the first time we recorded it was too fast.
Oh, really?
It felt very kind of a little bit not true to the potential
right
gravity of it. It seemed a little like we were just trying to get it out,
as
quickly as possible. And so we recorded all this music. I kind of thought this longer piece that's one long song cycle is going to take a little longer to finish, because I knew a friend who would be able to orchestrate it, and he had some connections to the Los Angeles Philharmonic.
Right.
And I thought it would be a great opportunity to use strings and woodwinds and have more of an orchestral sound. So I thought I'll divide these two projects into two halves. One will be kind of the shorter, rockier pieces, and one will be the longer piece. And all of the subject matter seemed to be centered around the same kind of conspiracy theory, ecological breakdown, political gamesmanship, and a lot of kind of futuristic dystopian, but in the here and now, or kind of looking at speculative fiction, like writers like Margaret Atwood, and just kind of different things that I was observing around me. And so all the subject matter kind of came together, and I thought, well, this is parts 1 and 2 of a trilogy.
Right.
And part of it is I try to have humor in my music and in my approach to music. Oftentimes some of the song titles, even the album titles, are a little silly, or I imagine them as plays on words.
Yeah, for sure.
And I try to embed that humor there within music that's actually kind of serious, and the messages and the lyrics, as nutty and inane as they sometimes are grounded in something that I actually want to talk about or want to say. So the idea of doing a trilogy is almost an absurdist lark. What would be the most ridiculous thing I could say.
Right. Yeah.
Well, this is parts 1 and 2 of a trilogy.
Right.
So, what happened was I had been putting out albums, and some people liked them a little bit, but nothing really was considered that earth-shaking until Doomsday Afternoon came out, and then the progressive rock community heard it. Some people started to review it, and they started to really, really like it.
Yeah.
And for me, Doomsday Afternoon is kind of a charmed album in the sense that everything about it came together in a very pure and easy and direct way. There are albums that I've made that have been very difficult to make.
Yeah.
That have felt like there's just an impediment all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And an earlier album of mine, Ghost Story, is an album that, though it's not very progressive rock, it's one of those albums that I just feel like everything came together correctly.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like that's of all my albums, the ones that I think are good are Ghost Story and Doomsday Afternoon and Snow Torch, and I happen to like Infernal as well. I might be too close to it.
Right.
But just in terms of albums that seemed like they came with an easy birth. So Doomsday Afternoon came out. I got the opportunity to perform in France, which meant putting together a live band because I had never really contemplated performing this music live. So I invited all the people who had played on my various albums and said who would like to go to France, and of course everybody said yes. So I suddenly was gifted, some might say lumbered, with a 10-piece band.
Right.
And we performed. I came back from that concert. I said I want to make an album with this 10-piece group of people, so we made an album called Number 7.
Mm-hmm.
I was determined not to make the third part of the trilogy because I thought that I couldn't necessarily know what that was at this point. So I thought by naming the album Number 7, it would be very clearly not a part of that project.
Right.
And very often when we're recording an album, we all would gather in Los Angeles, or the band members would gather in Los Angeles. And is this answer long enough? Is actually for the album to
Yeah.
I apologize for digressing.
Oh, no problem.
But so we made Number 7, and then then we started working on some other stuff, and Snow Torch kind of came into existence, and that started as one 14-minute song, and then sort of developed further and further, and that album came out. And I had written these 2 pieces that were basically going to be long 25-minute songs that I thought, this will be the third part of the trilogy. And one of those songs is seeded through Infernal. It's the song Cast Out and Cold, all of side 3, and the song Eternal. And those things together would have been one long song suite.
Right.
And then the other side would have been this long 25-minute piano-based kind of Son of Snow Torch type of thing.
Okay.
And I thought when I was, so we performed at a progressive rock festival in the U.S. called Rozfest.
Yeah.
And after that, I kept, of course, every time I went anywhere or talked to anyone, the only question they ever asked me was, when is the third part of the trilogy coming out?
For sure.
And this was 2000 and I guess it was 2011 because it was after Snow Torch. And when we performed the music from Doomsday Afternoon, there were many things that the band did to change the material. One of the bands I loved seeing as a kid was Gentle Giant.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Seeing Gentle Giant, they would always change the music. It was so different from the studio, and it was inspiring to me because it was a completely different look at it. So I kind of had in my mind the freedom to change the arrangements when performing live.
Mm-hmm.
So the band would bring a lot of themselves to this music that they hadn't really participated in creating from the beginning. So I thought, that's a good start for Infernal. Take some of this stuff that the band has created out of the DNA of Doomsday Afternoon and The Great Leap, and kind of figure out if I can springboard new songs out of that material.
Right.
So that was one of the things I did. And then I took this Infernal suite, which was, one of the 2 pieces I thought were going to be the third part of the trilogy, and started working with that. And then I was writing these songs based on stuff from the band, and I went back to the original demos that we had done for Doomsday and for Great Leap, just looking for different ideas and different chord progressions that we were working on at that time, because I really didn't want this to just be, oh, let me grab some music and say this is the third part of the trilogy. I thought if I am going to, in fact, create the third part of the trilogy, it should really relate to it and should really, dovetail. So around 2012, I had fleshed out this thing, and it was kind of looking like it was going to be a double album, which I thought was fine because, as I said, I sometimes like the meta-ness of the absurdity of my music. And I thought, what is the worst, most deadly, career-killing thing a person can do? Release a double album.
Yeah.
So I thought, that Infernal has to be a double album. And also I thought that was a good symmetry, because then I could really have one album which would be the sequel to The Great Leap, and one album which could be the sequel to Doomsday, in a sense, even though it's not quite like that because there's a lot of cross-pollination. So we recorded the basic tracks at the end of 2012, and we then got an opportunity to perform in Canada, in Quebec, and so that took, it's sometimes an either or. It's either I rehearse these 10 people for a concert, or I work on finishing an album. So that delayed the album a bit.
Right.
And then there were circumstances at my work and at my producer Gabe Moffat's work that caused us to not be able to work together that often. But at the same time, it proved, in my perspective, to be a great opportunity, because I started listening to these sessions and really critiquing them and finding places where I was just picking the low-hanging fruit and just being like, oh, well, here's a song I wrote, and this is the chorus, and it's fine. And then later on, I'd listen and I'd go, the song has promise, but the chorus is really just obvious or annoying. And I would pay attention to, anytime I would listen to the music in progress, and if the back of my neck, if the hairs on the back of my neck sort of stood up, or I got a little nervous, I would say, well, wait a minute, there's something wrong with the music here. There's something that I have to look at, because for some reason this part of the music is causing me distress.
Right.
So I really went through the album several times during the down period and really examined it, because I wanted it. I don't know, it was a little bit of an obsession. The other thing is that I have concluded that I'm a bit of a music hoarder, because I have several albums that are nearly finished. We had an album that we were going to make called 7.5.
Yep.
And that's finished. I mean, it's just not mixed. And maybe I need to do a little bit of vocal overdubs. But, I thought, well, I really should focus on the third part of the trilogy rather than work on that. And of course, I thought the third part of the trilogy, because it was going to be more live and it was going to be more band generated, would just be like, recorded in 2012, put it out in 2013.
Right.
And so I thought, I'll be able to then get back to 7.5. And of course, now 7.5 contains 20 extra minutes of stuff that was cut from Infernal. So
right.
I'm thinking of calling 7.5 now 7.5/Informal.
Oh, okay.
So Informal will be the bits of Infernal that were not on it. So that's my very long answer about why it took so long to finish this album.
Well, that's all right, because I think that alone will be its own video, and then we can go into more of our kind of discussion or Q&A kind of an idea.